When we hear the words child abuse, the legal system has historically looked for physical evidence. We look for the immediate physical impact: bruises, scars, and broken bones. If a child is physically harmed, the system recognizes the injury and intervenes. But physical violence is a fraction of what children actually face. Researchers and advocates have categorized a completely different mechanism of harm called psychological maltreatment. This illustrates how invisible abuse functions. An abusive parent systemically isolates the child from the people in their life. They manufacture an environment of ongoing fear, often called emotional terrorism, and coerce the child into altering their behavior to secure a basic reward like parental love. The child caught in this cycle is surviving day to day. They do not have the vocabulary to identify gaslighting, nor do they possess the psychological distance required to pull back, look at an adult, and report that they are being subjected to a coercive control loop. Because children cannot diagnose their own emotional terrorism, identifying this damage is entirely up to the adults around them. The burden falls squarely on a legal system that, for decades, has struggled to recognize anything that doesn't leave a visible physical scar. That legal blindness is finally starting to lift, beginning in Pennsylvania. State lawmakers there recently restructured the rules governing how family disputes are weighed. They updated the state's custody factors to explicitly include the term child safety, defining it for the first time to encompass the psychological and emotional well-being of a child, not just their physical health. That local shift in definition triggered the launch of PACS, the Professional Alliance of Child-Centered Safety. Started by professionals in central Pennsylvania, the organization is now taking this framework global. Courts in these jurisdictions are now legally required to assign substantial weight to a child's psychological safety. A parent's demand for physical access to a child no longer automatically overrides the child's right to live free from emotional manipulation. Changing the legal definition of abuse on paper is a massive step forward. Enforcing that new definition reveals severe vulnerabilities inside the family court system itself. When psychological maltreatment happens, the primary venue for these disputes is civil family court. Abusive parents use the civil court process as an extension of their control. They turn proceedings into endless he-said, she-said conflicts, creating enough manufactured chaos to mask their own psychological maltreatment of the child. When custody evaluators, therapists, and specialized attorneys try to cut through that chaos to protect the child, they become the new targets. The abuser redirects their aggression toward the professionals intervening in the case. These experts face coordinated online harassment campaigns. They deal with fabricated complaints filed against their professional licensing boards. In the most severe cases, they receive direct physical death threats simply for doing their jobs. This targeted, systemic bullying works. Highly skilled experts burn out and refuse to take these cases, leaving the abused children completely isolated from the specific advocates who know how to save them.
This is the exact crisis PACS was built to solve. The organization operates as a coordinated protective shield for embattled family court professionals. By looking at this diagram, you can see their primary tool. PACS curates a centralized, highly protected research library. They take isolated, peer-reviewed data on parental alienation and psychological well-being and consolidate it so attorneys and evaluators have unassailable evidence ready to deploy in court. They also build practical support networks. PACS runs weekly educational seminars and hosts strategy sessions, ensuring no professional has to face licensing threats or online harassment alone. By providing hard data and community protection, PACS keeps these specialized experts in the fight. They ensure the legal system retains the exact personnel required to break the cycle of abuse. But even with experts in the room, the heaviest burden still falls on the targeted parent. They have to navigate this incredibly hostile environment while personally enduring the trauma of psychological abuse. The family court system enforces a cruel irony. It subjects victims to immense emotional trauma, but demands those same victims present their evidence completely stone-faced. If a parent displays the natural grief of having their child abused, the court often penalizes them for being too emotional. Traumatized parents also fall victim to what advocates call the wrong door phenomenon. As this flowchart shows, a parent carrying criminal evidence down the civil court pathway immediately hits a dead end. Civil judges cannot enforce criminal law, but route that exact same evidence to law enforcement, and the barrier vanishes, finally matching the complaint to the correct jurisdiction. Specific offenses like the interference with child custody, known in Pennsylvania as Statute 2904, are not civil disputes. They are felony crimes recognized in all 50 states, and crimes are handled by the police, not family court mediators. Grasping the rigid boundaries between civil courts, criminal jurisdiction, and child protective services is the only way a parent can survive this maze and bypass bureaucratic traps. To actually navigate those boundaries, a targeted parent has to execute a mandatory first step: process the trauma entirely outside of the courtroom. Advocates highly recommend using specialized support groups to purge that emotional weight before ever stepping in front of a judge. Once centered, parents can tap into tactical resources designed to exploit the system's flaws. Programs like the PA Protect Kids workshops break down the differing evidence codes of civil and criminal courts, while groups like the Interference with Child Custody Coalition teach parents exactly how to force police to enforce existing laws. These specialized organizations provide the blueprint. They take a parent who feels like a passive victim of a broken system and turn them into an educated, active participant dictating their own legal strategy. Child-centered safety is a collaborative discipline. When targeted parents arm themselves with jurisdictional education and specialized professionals have the structural protection to do their jobs, the invisible mechanisms of psychological maltreatment can finally be stopped.